I'm done with being so fat. I weighed myself, I'm 188. I honestly think that might be the highest I've ever weighed. That is not good. I think to keep myself accountable, I will be recording how much I weigh at the beginning of each video. And then every time I listen back to a video, it'll be a really good motivation for me to stay off the sweets and the fattening foods. And I'm not just going to talk about that, but I'm also going to put that in practice. Starting tomorrow, I'm avoiding bread and sugary sweets. No ice cream, no candy, just vegetables, eggs, meats, things like that. I'm going to try to keep it 2 meals a day. I'm going to only eat breakfast and dinner, no lunch. Also, I'm thinking about taking morning walk or even a jog tomorrow, probably around 7 in the morning. Of course, no walk is complete without a morning stretch to loosen up the old body, so that's definitely going to be on the cards. My future self will record if I did that tomorrow, and if I didn't, I will let my future self know. One more thing I wanted to mention was that I think one of the reasons why I'm not really pursuing my goals and passions has a lot to do with being stuck in the daily doldrums of my mind, just being comfortable with not feeding it the right nutrition, which in turn is making me think slower and more dull. And I'm thinking that if I start eating more health consciously, I'll begin truly experiencing my life the way it was meant to be experienced. Because I feel like I'm a slave to fatty food right now. My target weight is going to be 145 pounds. So let's see if we can get to that. I'm looking for just being lean. I mean, muscles would be nice, but that's not exactly what I'm looking for. I just want to be a bit thinner than I am now. All right, that's enough. Okay, let's go on to the daily update. Today was a fairly good day. I woke up at around 7:30 and remember my mom woke me up, and I'm pretty sure that she was telling me something. Well, she made sourdough bread with raspberry jelly on it for me to eat. I remember that. And I had that with a cup of coffee. Yeah, I'm gonna have to be avoiding that tomorrow. See if I make it. I just noticed I have a harder time breathing with all this visceral fat around me. Well, anyways, she was telling me about a movie she watched with our family friend the night before, and how this movie was about a boy who lost his mom, and stoner dude moved into the house, and the dad was so overcome with depression over losing his wife that he didn't tell the stoner to leave the premises. Instead, he just let him there like he was numb to life, and the trying to get through what he was going through with this stoner dude. I did not watch this movie. My mom told me a summation of the story from beginning to end, and based on what I heard, it sounds pretty interesting. I'll have to check it out. After that, I decided to go into my room and I watched a video from Digital Foundry about the new Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy game port on the Nintendo Switch 2. I was curious to see how that game looked and ran on that particular console. Based on what was shown, it pretty much is near on par with the PlayStation 4 version, which is pretty impressive for a little handheld device. I don't know if little is the right word, though. Apparently it's like 8 inches, not including the Joy-Con, so it's quite big, but I mean, hey, still pretty impressive for something that anyone can buy and use, for sure. Afterwards, I decided to get a little bit of work done on my YouTube video for Brain Jam, and I only got about a little bit done because by the time I was done watching the video, I almost forgot to mention this VeggieTales fan channel was recommended to me about this Larry Boy movie using generative AI for the animation, which caught my interest because I've used AI generated video before, mostly just to mess around and have my mom and other people ride the cat or do silly things like backflips or whatever. And also, I was trying to make a little like short film, like for an alien abduction video. I remember I was talking about that a lot in my previous videos, but I haven't really revisited the project in a while. I noticed that like I start something, I'm really passionate about it, and then I ended up just like leaving it after like a few weeks of working on it, and then I get started on something else. That's gonna stop with Brain Jam. I'm not going to do that for that channel. That is something that I'm gonna put my heart into because I really want that to succeed, and not putting time into it is a surefire way of it not succeeding. Yeah, but anyways, the video in question was about how the new Larry Boy will use AI for the animation and how the guy in the video was not loving it and preferred organic human-made animation, which honestly also prefer organic human-made animation. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with like experimenting and doing different things with different techniques and tools, and as long as you're using those tools to tell a story in a way that still communicates ideas in an emotionally resonant way, then I say go for it. But based on what I've seen from the production company that's using AI to make this Larry Boy movie, by the way, this movie does not have any involvement from the guy who invented the series VeggieTales, Phil Vischer. And the only really reason why I'm interested in this at all is because I used to watch that show religiously as a kid. And I remember returning to it recently and watching some of the older stuff for nostalgia's sake. And I just remember, wow, this was actually a really well-made show. Good job, Phil Vischer. But, you know, seeing this modern production company, and they posted AI made like promotions for books on their YouTube channel and how unflattering it looks, it's genuinely pretty sad, not gonna lie. Well, anyways, after that, I did continue working on the Brain Jam YouTube video, only for a little bit. I got to a part where I was watching a YouTube video from a channel I really liked, and then I decided to cut out all of that YouTube channel because if people wanted to watch that person's content, they would go to that person's channel to watch it. I was simply just using the first few seconds of the introduction as like, this is what I'm watching. So if people really want to follow along, they can search it up on their own on YouTube and see what I saw. I just using it as a jumping off point to do research into why I like this YouTube channel, what I notice about what makes it work, and things like that. Anyways, it was time to go to work. I got dressed and combed my hair, kissed my mom goodbye, and left. When I arrived, it was already busy. Like yesterday, there was a bit of a lull at the beginning. Not today. Today was absolute bananas. It was just non-stop. First hour was spent doing lot, and they needed to put 2 courtesy clerks out on lot for throughout the first like 5 or 6 hours of my shift, of 8 hours by the way, because this is around the time when most families were doing their shopping for the 4th of July holiday. So yeah, there's the cart situation was so crazy that it didn't matter how often we put the carts back into the corral would always be empty. Yeah, it was that busy. But we somehow managed to push through. Boy, was it very brutal. Afterwards, the next hour was spent bagging, and I did take a delivery or 2 out. I think one was done for someone picking up for someone else, and the other was done for someone for their own family. And then I was asked to do go backs. Throughout my whole go back situation, where I was looking for where products needed to go back into the store because people weren't buying them because whatever reason, I was thinking to myself, what are we going to have for lunch? What's going to be on the menu? And then as I was bagging, I was thinking, well, man, I'm going to have to leave my spot. So I don't know if there's going to be a spot for me when I get back. Like, it's so crazy now. It's probably still going to be crazy when I return. I had a 10 to 7 shift, by the way, and I went to lunch at 2, and normally I go home for lunch. Well, lunchtime came, I punched out, and I drove over to the home. And when I got back, we had this special meat Mexican dish And I'm forgetting what it's called right now, if I'm being honest with you. But all you need to know is that the meat from this dish was extremely delicious and very tender. You could say that it was so tender, and I loved every bite of it. It was made by our family friend, and my mom prepared burritos for me. And this is where we get into the accountability for health, because even after eating that, I thought it was a great idea to have dessert by having popsicle stick, which is basically vanilla ice cream with the chocolate coating and then s'more crumbs on top. And this is why I think it's probably a great idea to listen to these videos after recording them to really gain insight into the habits I have and what I can do to correct them. Yeah, poor eating habits right now. Well, anyways, I bid my mom and family friend goodbye. I left, and when I returned, what do you know? There was a parking space that was pretty close to where the opening of the parking was, which was very convenient and nice, and I really liked that. Now, when I got out, this was something I forgot to mention, but earlier in the day when I first arrived, there's a coworker that I have who said that there was a weird sound coming from my car, which I thought was quite concerning because I literally pumped like a little over $600 into repairing that bad boy, and hearing that from my coworker does make me a little like, did they fix it or did they not fix it, you know? Well, I guess time will tell, but based on what the mechanic said, I would hope they meant yes, right? Let's jump back into the present moment as it was at that point in time. And that's that when I returned, it was time to do lot again. And during a lot, once again, nonstop busy. Craziness. Yeah, it was still like that. After that, a good hour was spent bagging. Really nothing to add there right now. And an hour was spent doing go backs. Again, nothing really too interesting to add there. And the last hour, and I almost forgot to mention, I did go on my last break, which did include a breathing exercise. I will say this breathing exercise in particular was fairly notable because it was, well, felt like I was close to what one might call a breakthrough in terms of like my body feeling like just a part of me, but I could grow a better awareness beyond the body, if that makes any sense. Like, it's hard to describe, but I guess like maybe an out-of-body experience, but not really, but maybe something like that. Or maybe I was just, putting too much oxygen in my brain that was messing with my sensory feelings about reality. I don't know. I just know that I felt different, more different than usual. Well, anyways, last hour was spent karting. I remember during my last hour, there was a coworker of mine who I decided I wanted to show that I was using AI to make our family friend and my mom ride our cat. And I asked my coworker, would you like me to get you to ride my cat? And he said, sure. So I was like, all right. So he allowed me to take his picture and then make a sticker of him on my Samsung phone, and then put the sticker next to a picture of my cat, and then use that as the starting frame to make a generative AI video of him riding my cat. He wasn't able to see it. He had to leave before it could finish generating. But when it did finish generating, the result was quite interesting. Now his legs were bent the whole time on the cat back, but in a weird crisscross way that made it look like he was sitting in an awkward way on the cat. And then the cat looked like he aged down, which was bizarre, and got more fluffy hair. So maybe I'd have to hit the regenerate button on that one. I actually did, but the second result was nightmare fuel. A coworker's face morphed into something unrecognizable and scary, and I'm like, I don't like that. Well, anywho, the day was done, punched out. I said goodbye to my coworkers. When I got home, my sister was already there. She was enjoying time with my mom, and then we decided it would be a lot of fun to get fireworks from the nearest TNT store, or stand. Each of us contributed $10, except for my sister, who contributed $15. And we got the smallest pack they had there. Well, it wasn't the smallest, but it was fairly small. But the cool thing about it was it actually was the last $40 pack. So that was pretty cool. And we got another pack that I think was called like Game On. When we arrived, we put all of the chairs that are in our backyard in the front yard, and we lit each firework while filming each other doing either dances or just lighting them and just having a great old time. It was a lot of fun. And this was what sparked me being more health conscious, because when I watched the video of my sister filming me lighting those fireworks, I just realized how big I've gotten. And it made me think I need to do something. I can't get any further than I'm at right now. Otherwise, I'm really going to go down a path I don't want to go down. So yeah, it's probably a really good idea to get those fireworks. That might set a new me in motion. Let's see. But yeah, we had a great time. And then we decided to rewatch all of the videos we took by streaming them on our big TV in the den, and it was fun revisiting each of those films. And our family friend said I looked like Nacho Libre, and I thought it'd be funny to find a video on YouTube that shows the end of Nacho Libre to see how close the comparison ran. I don't know. Do you guys think I look like Nacho Libre? I don't think I do, but you be the judge. After that, we started getting into mystical orbs because there was a particle of dust that flew through my own camera as we were filming us setting off fireworks. And my mom and sister, they thought it was like a magical orb. I don't think it was a magical orb. I just thought it was like a particle of dust that flew past the camera. But they thought it was a spirit orb. And we started this long rabbit hole of like spirit orbs, and then we jumped onto like the Miami mall incident, the thing I talked about yesterday. I told them what I heard from that spooky story retelling. Probably was fiction, but hey, maybe it wasn't. And then my sister said, like, yeah, I remember hearing like teenagers were trying to open a portal to another dimension, and there were like beings around. And then we watched like some guy on YouTube like walk around the Miami mall, like just trying to communicate with like spirits, or like saying that the coordinates of the mall are like went exactly reversed are like the coordinates to the underground bases in Antarctica, and how he said, what if the aliens tried to teleport to Antarctica but they got the coordinates wrong and then teleported to the Miami Mall and they had to reverse course before they were caught. Yeah, silly things like that. But I have to admit, it is a lot of fun to hear those kinds of stories, as ridiculous as they sound. Anyways, we decided that was the end of our fun excursion, so we said good night to my sister, me and my mom. We sang our song. But before we left, my mom and sister noticed there was this big, huge spider web with a ginormous spider on it. I even filmed a little bit of it. And this was one ginormous looking spider. It looks like a crab spider hybrid. I mean, I'm not going to say it was like this big, but it was like this big, you know? Like, and normally spiders are like this big, you know? So it was a huge looking spider, and it caught us off guard. My mom thought it was a demon spider. I asked Google image search to see what it was, and it apparently said it was like a giant burrow spider or something like that. I don't exactly remember the name, but it wasn't a demon spider. Yeah, and I think that might be it. Am I missing something? I took my vitamins, and I almost forgot. We did have flautas for dinner before we went and we set out the fireworks, and I had a Coke Zero. Important to keep in mind for future health updates. Let food be thy medicine. And then I had a cup of coffee, and then my sister gave us a bowl that had cherry ice cream and a tart in it. So we had that. And I gotta be honest, by the end of the day, I genuinely felt like a brick in terms of just how full I felt. Like, I was like, oh, no more, please. Yeah. But yeah. Vitamins, tea, brush teeth, mouthwash, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Recording this update. Tomorrow I do go to work from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And like I said, 2 meals tomorrow. A good meal at the beginning of the day and a good meal at the end of the day. Part of me wonders if it would be a better idea to have breakfast and lunch and then skip dinner instead of breakfast then dinner. I don't know. What do you think? Well, anyways, I think that's about it for now. So thank you for tuning in on this exciting new episode of What's Going On, and I will see you in the next one. Good night, everybody.